In the sprawling city of Dallas, Texas, Marcus Johnson, a 35-year-old construction worker, faced a night that would test his faith in humanity. The sharp pain in his abdomen had escalated quickly, turning an ordinary Thursday into a struggle for relief. Beside him, Alex Hernandez, a childhood friend and co-worker, drove him to St. Mary's Hospital, his concern evident in every quick glance he cast towards Marcus as they entered the brightly lit emergency room. The buzz of activity couldn't mask the grimace of pain on Marcus's face. Alex, steady and supportive, helped him to the reception, explaining the urgency to the nurse behind the desk. "We need help fast," Alex said, his voice tight with worry. "He's in a lot of pain." The nurse nodded, typing rapidly into her computer. "We'll take care of him. Just fill out these forms and take a seat." Marcus tried to sit, but the pain sharpened, forcing a groan from his lips. Alex helped him to a nearby chair, his eyes scanning the room for a doctor. That's when Dr. Henry Lawson appeared, his white coat almost glowing under the fluorescent lights of the ER. Dr. Lawson, in his mid-40s with a reputation for efficiency, approached with a clipboard in hand. His gaze, however, shifted slightly when he saw Marcus, and his voice carried a colder note. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, not unkindly but with clinical detachment. Alex quickly explained the situation, his words rushed and filled with an edge of desperation. "He's in severe pain, doctor. It started a few hours ago, and it's only gotten worse." Dr. Lawson glanced at Marcus, who was now sweating and pale. "I see," he murmured, flipping through the paperwork. Then, lowering his voice, he added a comment that chilled the air. "We need to be careful with who we admit at this time of night. You understand, right?" Confused, Alex pressed. "What do you mean, doctor?" "He needs help." Dr. Lawson's next words were a harsh whisper meant only for Alex. "Look, it's late and resources are tight. We can't just treat anyone who comes in here, especially when they might cause complications. Are you saying you won't treat him because he's black?" Alex's voice was incredulous, tinged with rising anger. The surrounding chatter seemed to quiet, ears stretching to catch the tense exchange. Dr. Lawson straightened, his expression hardening. "I didn't say that, but let's just say some patients are more likely to cause trouble than others." Marcus, catching bits of the conversation despite his pain, struggled to sit up. "What's going on, Alex? Why aren't they helping?" Alex's face was a mask of frustration and worry. "Hang on, Marcus. I'll sort this out." He turned back to Dr. Lawson, his stance confrontational. "My friend needs medical attention. You can't deny him that." The standoff in the emergency room hinted at deeper prejudices, unspoken but palpable. Dr. Lawson, faced with Alex's determination and the public attention now drawn by their raised voices, hesitated. The air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes a storm. The tension in the emergency room hovered like a heavy fog, but within Marcus Johnson's clouded mind, memories began to drift back to simpler, sunnier days in the small town of Brownsville, Texas. Here, under the broad, forgiving skies, his lifelong friendship with Alex Hernandez had taken root among the rugged playgrounds of their youth. Marcus had been the quiet one, his deep brown eyes observant and thoughtful, his skin a rich shade that often drew unwelcome stares in a town not known for its diversity. Alex, with his light skin and quick smile, had been his fearless defender, stepping in more times than Marcus could count. "I remember when those boys at school started teasing you." Alex's voice cut through the memory, his tone light, trying to ease the tension as they waited in the ER. "They didn't know what hit them when I showed up." Marcus managed a weak smile, the pain momentarily forgotten. "You were always there, man, like a brother." Their friendship had been a series of such moments, with Alex often standing up for Marcus, ensuring he was treated with respect. As they grew older, their bond only deepened. They worked summer jobs together, laying bricks and painting fences, saving up for their first car, which they proudly shared. After high school, they both married their high school sweethearts within weeks of each other. Marcus married Lisa, a kind-hearted teacher who loved Marcus's gentle nature, and Alex married Elena, a vibrant nurse who admired Alex's unwavering loyalty to his friend. The double wedding had been the talk of the town, a festive affair filled with laughter and dancing. Years passed, And while life in Brownsville was comfortable, opportunities were limited. One summer evening, as they grilled burgers in Marcus's backyard, the friends discussed their futures. "We're doing all right, but I want more for my kids," Marcus said, flipping a burger. "Better schools, better jobs." Alex nodded, sipping his beer. "Dallas has been booming. Construction work is plenty and pays good. We could really make a go of it there." The decision to move was made with their families in mind. Within months, they had packed up their lives and headed to Dallas, hopeful. The city welcomed them with open arms and ample work. Together, they started a small construction business, which quickly gained a reputation for quality and reliability. Their lives in Dallas were busy but fulfilling as they built not just buildings but a better future for their families. Yet even in this bustling metropolis, Marcus couldn't entirely escape the shadows of prejudice. It lurked in corner offices, in casual glances, in the tightening of mouths when he entered meetings. But with Alex by his side, each challenge was met with a shared resilience. Back in the present, as the harsh lights of the emergency room buzzed overhead, Marcus felt Alex's steady presence, a comforting constant in a world that often seemed tilted against him. "Our journey wasn't easy, but I wouldn't change a thing," Alex whispered, his hand firm on Marcus's shoulder. "Neither would I," Marcus replied, the weight of his friend's loyalty both a comfort and a reminder of how far they had come and how far they still had to go. As the night deepened, the memory of their shared path strengthened Marcus's resolve. No matter the prejudice he faced, he was not alone. Alex's unwavering support was a testament to the enduring power of friendship, a bond forged in the face of adversity, meant to last a lifetime. As the clock on the emergency room wall ticked loudly, marking the late hour, Alex Hernandez's patience wore thin. He glanced at his friend Marcus Johnson, who was grimacing in pain, and his resolve hardened. "Doctor, we've been waiting too long," Alex said firmly, standing to intercept Dr. Henry Lawson as he passed by. "Marcus needs help now, not when you decide he's worthy of your attention." Dr. Lawson's face tightened, the lines around his mouth deepening. "Mr. Hernandez, I assure you, we prioritize patients based on the severity of their conditions." "Seems like you're prioritizing based on something else," Alex shot back, his voice rising. The tension between them crackled like a live wire. "I don't have to listen to baseless accusations," Dr. Lawson retorted, his tone icy. "Your friend will be seen in due time." "In due time? He's in pain now. What kind of doctor lets bias dictate their duty?" Alex's accusation hung heavy in the air, drawing the eyes of nearby patients and staff. It was then that Nurse Grace Wilson, who had been observing the unfolding drama, stepped forward. Grace, a compassionate and experienced nurse, had seen her fair share of injustices in the ER, but tonight's blatant disregard stirred something within her. "Dr. Lawson," Grace interjected, her voice calm yet assertive, drawing the doctor's reluctant attention. "Marcus's condition could worsen if we delay. He deserves the same prompt care we give to all our patients." Dr. Lawson looked between Grace and Alex, his expression unreadable. "Nurse Wilson, I appreciate your concern, but I am in charge of patient assessments." Grace stood her ground, her stance indicating she wasn't backing down. "With all due respect, doctor, I've been monitoring his vitals and symptoms. He needs an immediate evaluation." Alex nodded vigorously, grateful for Grace's support. "Thank you, Grace. It's clear you care about doing what's right." The standoff in the emergency room reached a crucial point, with patients whispering and the staff tense. Dr. Lawson, sensing the mounting pressure and the risk of further conflict, finally nodded stiffly. "All right, I'll examine him now," he conceded grudgingly. "Prepare a room." Grace gave Alex a reassuring look as she hurried off to follow the doctor's orders. "We'll take good care of him," she promised, her words a balm to Alex's frayed nerves. As Grace and Dr. Lawson prepared to attend to Marcus, Alex felt a mix of relief and victory. The battle was small in the grand scheme, but it was a significant win for decency, a moment when courage met challenge head-on in the dark, sterile environment of the ER. With Marcus finally being wheeled into an examination room, Alex followed closely, his protective presence a constant by his friend's side. The evening's ordeal was far from over, but Alex knew that with Grace on their side, they had a fighting chance to right the wrongs of the night. Once Dr. Henry Lawson had agreed to see Marcus Johnson, things moved swiftly. Marcus was wheeled into an examination room, where Dr. Lawson, with a more professional demeanor now, began his assessment. "Tell me exactly where it hurts," Dr. Lawson instructed, his voice neutral as he palpated Marcus's abdomen. "Right here," Marcus winced, pointing to his lower right side. "It's sharp and hasn't stopped for hours." Dr. Lawson's expression grew serious. "We need to run some tests immediately. I'm concerned about your symptoms." As Marcus was sent for an ultrasound and blood tests, the weight of the situation settled over him like a heavy blanket. Alex stayed by his side until the nurses ushered him back to the waiting area, promising to keep him updated. The waiting was the hardest part. Alex paced the cold linoleum floors of the hospital corridor, his mind racing with worry. Time seemed to crawl until finally, Grace appeared, her face somber. "The results are in, Alex," she said gently. "It's serious. Marcus has acute appendicitis, and it looks like it's close to rupturing. We need to prepare for emergency surgery." The news hit Alex like a punch to the gut. "Surgery? Right now?" "Yes," Grace nodded. "It's urgent. We operate to prevent a rupture. The sooner, the better." Dr. Lawson joined them, his clipboard in hand. "We need a family member to sign the surgical consent forms. It's protocol, especially in a case like this where the surgery is high risk." Alex's thoughts immediately flew to Marcus's wife, Lisa. "I'll call Lisa. She needs to be here." Pulling out his phone, Alex dialed Lisa with trembling hands. It rang several times before she answered, her voice sleepy and concerned. "Alex, what's wrong?" "It's Marcus," Alex said, struggling to keep his voice steady. "He's in bad shape, Lisa. They need to do surgery right away, but they need you to come sign some forms." Lisa's sleepiness vanished, replaced by urgency. "I'm on my way. Just take care of him until I get there. Hurry, Lisa. He needs us." As Alex ended the call, he felt a mix of fear and resolve. He returned to Marcus, gripping his friend's hand. "Help is on the way, brother. Hold on." In a dimly lit corner of St. Mary's Hospital, Nurse Grace Wilson found Dr. Henry Lawson in a state she had never seen him before. His usual composed demeanor was shattered, replaced by a man sitting against the cold wall, his head in his hands, tears streaking down his face. "Dr. Lawson?" Grace approached cautiously, her voice soft. "Are you all right?" Henry looked up, his eyes red. "I've been a fool, Grace. My attitude towards Marcus. I let my past cloud my judgment, and it almost cost a man his life." Grace sat down beside him, her presence comforting. "What happened in your past, Henry?" Henry wiped his face, taking a deep breath. "Years ago, I was attacked outside a clinic where I worked. The attackers, they were young men, not unlike Marcus in appearance. Since then, I've been wary, prejudiced even, against anyone who reminds me of that night." "That's a heavy burden to carry," Grace acknowledged. "But recognizing it is a step toward making it right." Henry nodded, his face lined with remorse. "I judged Marcus without knowing him, based only on my fears. It's not right. I need to be better than this." Grace placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You've taken the first step by acknowledging it. Now let's make sure Marcus gets through this." Henry stood up, a new resolve in his eyes. "I will. I'll do everything in my power to see him recovered. It's time I amend my mistakes." "Good," Grace smiled slightly. "Let's get back to work then. Marcus needs us." As they left the secluded corner, Dr. Lawson's promise hung in the air. A silent vow to change and to heal, not only Marcus but also the wounds of his own past. The night's revelations were the beginning of a deeper transformation, one that would require not just skill but heart. Lisa Johnson arrived at St. Mary's Hospital in a flurry of concern, her face etched with worry as she rushed into the emergency room. Spotting Alex first, she approached with quick steps, her voice laden with both relief and frustration. "Why didn't you call me sooner? What's going on with Marcus?" Lisa demanded, her eyes scanning the room for her husband. Alex, looking weary yet relieved to see her, replied gently, "We thought it was nothing serious at first, Lisa. Marcus had some pain, but we figured it was just a bad stomachache." We plan to go back to work tomorrow. Marcus, now slightly more stable and able to speak, added. I didn't want to wake you up over what I thought was just indigestion, honey. I'm sorry. Lisa took a deep breath, her initial distress softening as she took her husband's hand. You should have called. I would have come right away, no matter what time it was. Alex explained further, seeking to ease the tension. We were at the job site late tonight. Marcus was overseeing the final setup for the new project, and I was helping out. He started feeling this pain just as we were about to leave. Yes, Marcus continued. I thought I could sleep it off, but the pain got worse, so Alex brought me straight here. Lisa nodded, understanding the circumstances better now. Okay, but from now on, no matter how small it seems, promise me you'll call, Marcus. I promise, Lisa, Marcus assured her, squeezing her hand. With the immediate concerns addressed, Lisa turned her attention to the medical situation at hand. What did the doctor say? How serious is it? They're preparing for emergency surgery, Alex answered. It's appendicitis, and it's pretty bad. Lisa's face hardened with resolve. Let them do what needs to be done, then. Where do I sign? Alex led her to the nursing station, where the necessary forms were quickly provided by Nurse Grace, who briefed Lisa on the procedure and what to expect. Lisa, while signing the forms, kept a brave face, her signature steady despite the turmoil inside. With the paperwork handled, Lisa returned to Marcus's side, ready to support him through the upcoming surgery. Her presence brought a palpable sense of comfort to both Marcus and Alex, solidifying the bond between them as they faced the uncertain hours ahead. Marcus was rushed into the operating room, the urgency of his condition marked by the swift footsteps and serious faces of the medical team accompanying him. Lisa and Alex, left in the sterile, bleak waiting room, clung to each other's presence for comfort as the heavy doors swung shut behind him. Inside the operating room, Dr. Lawson and his team worked with precision and focus. As they made the initial incision and explored the site of the appendix, a sudden, unexpected complication arose. Marcus's appendix had ruptured more extensively than anticipated, causing a severe infection that was spreading rapidly within his abdomen. The situation required immediate and intricate intervention to clean the infected area and prevent further contamination. The tension among the surgical team was palpable, their movements becoming even more deliberate. Dr. Lawson, recalling his promise to do his best for Marcus, directed his team with a calm authority, trying to navigate through the precarious situation they found themselves in. Back in the waiting room, Nurse Grace approached Alex and Lisa with a somber expression. There's been a complication during the surgery, she explained gently. Marcus's condition is very serious right now. The team is doing everything they can. Lisa, her face pale with worry, grasped Alex's hand tightly. What kind of complication? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. It's an infection from the rupture. It's more severe than we thought, Grace responded, her voice steady despite the concern in her eyes. Overwhelmed by the news, Alex and Lisa felt a profound helplessness wash over them. We should pray, Alex suggested, his voice cracking with emotion. It's all we can do right now. Lisa nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. Together, with Grace joining in, they bowed their heads in the waiting room, their voices low but fervent as they asked for Marcus's safe return from surgery. Dear Lord, Lisa prayed, please guide the doctor's hands and give Marcus the strength to fight through this. Keep him safe. They continued to pray, the waiting room enveloped in a heavy silence, broken only by the soft murmurs of their pleas for Marcus's recovery. As they waited for any news, their faith in his recovery remained unshaken, bolstered by the shared strength of their prayers. Alex and Lisa sat side by side in the sterile, dimly lit waiting room, their eyes occasionally meeting in silent understanding of their shared worry. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, marking the passage of time, each second stretching longer than the last. Lisa rubbed her hands together, her voice barely above a whisper. How long can this surgery take? Alex shook his head, his eyes tired and anxious. I don't know, Lisa, but Dr. Lawson is one of the best. He'll do everything he can for Marcus. In the operating room, the tension was palpable. Dr. Lawson and his team worked diligently to manage the complications from Marcus's ruptured appendix. The concern was not only the immediate infection, but also the potential for long-term issues such as abscesses or further spread of the infection that could lead to severe conditions affecting Marcus's overall health. "We need to ensure we've cleaned all the infected areas thoroughly," Dr. Lawson instructed his team, his voice firm yet controlled. "Let's do another sweep to make sure we don't miss anything." The surgical team moved with renewed focus, understanding the gravity of the situation. The operation was delicate, requiring precision and unwavering attention to detail to prevent any further complications. Back in the waiting room, Alex took Lisa's hand, squeezing it gently. "He's strong, Lisa. If anyone can get through this, it's Marcus." Lisa nodded, her eyes moist with tears yet shining with resolute hope. "Yes, he is. And he's got everyone here fighting for him too." They continued to wait, each minute laden with the weight of uncertainty, yet they found small comfort in their togetherness, their shared strength forming a quiet bond in the cold ambience of the hospital. As the hours ticked by, Alex and Lisa maintained their vigil, their hope undimmed by the night's challenges, their spirits bolstered by the thoughts of Marcus's fighting spirit and the skilled hands of the medical team working to save him. As the surgical team stepped away from the operating table, a collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Dr. Lawson, removing his surgical mask, allowed himself a small smile. "Good work, everyone. Let's get him to recovery, but keep a close eye. He's not out of the woods yet, but the worst is over." Lisa and Alex, who had been pacing the length of the waiting room for hours, finally saw Nurse Grace approach with a tired yet hopeful expression. "The surgery went well," she announced, her voice a beacon in the weary night. "Marcus is being moved to the recovery room now. You can see him soon, but he'll still be sleeping off the anesthesia." Lisa clasped her hands together, her relief palpable. "Thank you, Grace. Thank you for everything." It wasn't long before they were allowed into the recovery room, where Marcus lay quietly, the steady rise and fall of his chest a comforting sight. Machines beeped softly in the background, monitoring his vital signs. Lisa approached the bedside, her hand reaching out to gently touch Marcus's arm. "He looks so peaceful," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Alex stood beside her, sharing a moment of quiet solidarity. "He's strong, Lisa. He'll get through this." After a few moments of silent vigil, Alex glanced at his watch and sighed. "I should get back to Elena and the kids. It's been a long night." Lisa nodded, understanding the pull of responsibilities. "Go, Alex. We'll be okay here. Come back when you can." "I will, first thing in the morning," Alex promised. He leaned over and gently squeezed Marcus's hand. "Hang in there, buddy." With a final look of concern mixed with hope, Alex left the hospital, the quiet of the early morning enveloping him as he stepped into the cool air. The night had been long and fraught with worry, but now, with Marcus stable and Lisa by his side, he felt a weight lift slightly from his shoulders. Lisa settled into a chair next to Marcus, prepared to stay the night, her eyes rarely leaving his face, watching over him as he slept. Her presence was a silent testament to their shared life and love. As the first hints of dawn crept through the window, Lisa felt a cautious optimism. Marcus was safe for now, and that was enough to keep the hope alive in her heart. As the days gently unfolded, Marcus Johnson's condition steadily improved. The quiet hum of the hospital had become a backdrop to his recovery, punctuated by frequent visits from his devoted wife, Lisa, who kept vigil by his side, her presence unwavering. Alex Hernandez made it a point to visit as often as he could, balancing his time between his family and his hospitalized friend. Each visit brought with it a breath of the outside world, a reminder of normality that Marcus deeply appreciated. "How are you feeling today, buddy?" Alex would ask as he settled into the familiar chair next to Marcus's bed. "Better, thanks to you guys," Marcus would respond, managing a weak smile. "Having you all here makes this bearable." Nurse Grace Wilson continued to make her rounds, her visits to Marcus filled with professional care, tempered with personal investment. She monitored his recovery closely, her experienced eyes watching for any signs of distress or setback. Dr. Henry Lawson also kept a close watch on Marcus, the weight of his initial misjudgment hanging over him, determined to see Marcus through to full recovery. "You're making excellent progress, Marcus," he would say during his visits. "Keep it up, and you'll be out of here in no time." Everything seemed to be progressing well, with Marcus regaining strength each day and the hospital staff providing continuous support. The atmosphere around his recovery was cautiously optimistic, a shared sentiment that buoyed everyone's spirits. However, just as the tension began to ease, a sudden alarm from Marcus's monitor shattered the calm. The rapid beeping summoned the immediate attention of the medical team, pulling Dr. Lawson and Nurse Grace into swift action. "What's happening?" Lisa asked, panic rising in her voice as she stood abruptly, her hands clasped tightly together. "We're not sure yet, Lisa," Dr. Lawson responded as he assessed the situation, his voice calm but firm. "We need to run some tests. There might be a complication." The resurgence of trouble was a harsh reminder of the precarious nature of recovery. Alex, who had just walked in to visit, stood beside Lisa, his presence a silent pillar of strength. They watched helplessly as the medical team worked, their faith once again being tested in the face of uncertainty. The room erupted into urgent activity as Marcus Johnson suffered a sudden heart attack. The beeping of his monitor became frantic, mirroring the chaos as the medical team sprang into action. Lisa and Alex stood back, their hands clasped together in fear as they watched the team work to save Marcus's life. Dr. Lawson, leading the resuscitation effort, called out clear, precise instructions to his team. "Charge to 200 joules," he ordered, pressing the defibrillator paddles firmly against Marcus's chest. Clear. The first attempt didn't take hold, and a tense silence filled the room momentarily before Dr. Lawson tried again, his brow furrowed with concentration. "Charge to 300 joules. Clear." This time, with a jolt, Marcus's heart began to beat again, weak but steady. The room exhaled in collective relief, but the crisis was far from over. "We need to move fast. Get him to the imaging center. We need to understand what caused this," Dr. Lawson announced as Marcus was quickly prepared for more tests. As Marcus was rushed through the hospital corridors, Lisa turned to Dr. Lawson, her eyes searching for answers. "What's happening to him? Will he be okay?" Dr. Lawson, his face a mask of concern, replied, "We're doing everything we can, Lisa. The heart attack may have been caused by a stress response from a severe infection. We're going to find out." The test soon revealed a generalized infection in Marcus's body, a dangerous spread that had likely resulted from the earlier rupture of his appendix. As Dr. Lawson reviewed the results, his guilt over his initial delay in treating Marcus intensified. The moment he had allowed his prejudices to influence his decisions might have contributed to this dire situation. Alone in his office, Dr. Lawson reflected on the gravity of his earlier choices. "If I had acted sooner, Marcus might not be fighting for his life right now," he confessed to Nurse Grace, who had come to discuss Marcus's condition. Grace, always the voice of reason, nodded sympathetically but firmly. "We all have moments we regret, Henry. What matters is how we move forward. Let's focus on getting Marcus through this." "Yes," Dr. Lawson agreed, his resolve hardening. "I owe him that much." Following the harrowing discovery of a severe infection in Marcus's body, Dr. Lawson ordered an immediate and aggressive treatment plan. Marcus was put on a broad spectrum of antibiotics to combat the infection, along with medications to stabilize his heart function. The ICU team monitored him closely, adjusting his treatment as needed based on his response and any changes in his condition. Lisa, exhausted yet determined, stayed by Marcus's side, watching as the machines beeped in sync with his heartbeat, a steady reminder of the battle he was still fighting. Alex visited daily, bringing with him a strength and positivity that helped lighten the heavy air around them. In one such visit, seeing the weariness in Lisa's eyes, Alex suggested, "Maybe we should pray again together. It seemed to help us last time." Lisa nodded, her voice soft but resolute. "Yes, let's. It brings me peace." They gathered around Marcus's bedside, joined by Nurse Grace and, surprisingly, Dr. Lawson. Each of them held onto a part of this shared journey, their faces solemn yet hopeful as they bowed their heads. Alex started, his voice a steady murmur. "Dear Lord, we come to you in our hour of need. You've guided us through dark times before. Please watch over Marcus and help him through this." Lisa took over, her words filled with a wife's love. Bless the hands of those caring for him. Grant Marcus the strength to fight this infection and heal his body. Grace, her eyes closed, added her own prayer. And give us the wisdom to provide the best care, to make the right decisions for Marcus's health. Lastly, Dr. Lawson, whose journey had brought him to this humbling moment, spoke quietly. Forgive me my failures and guide me to be a better doctor. Help me to restore Marcus to his family. The room was filled with a palpable warmth, the silence after their prayers thick with emotion and sincerity. They each felt a renewed sense of purpose, a unified commitment to Marcus's recovery, strengthened by their collective hope and faith. As they opened their eyes and slowly rose, there was a silent agreement among them, an acknowledgement of the power of their united front, their shared belief in the possibility of healing and redemption. They left Marcus to rest, each carrying with them the weight and the comfort of their shared vigil, their spirits buoyed by the bonds of friendship, family, and faith that the crisis had forged. A few days after beginning his rigorous treatment regimen, Marcus Johnson began to show signs of recovery. Each small improvement, more color in his cheeks, more strength in his voice, brought a new wave of relief and hope to those around him. Lisa, never far from his side, noticed these changes first, her heart lifting with every positive sign. "Look at you, getting stronger every day," she said, her hand gently squeezing his. Marcus smiled, his voice still weak but warming with gratitude. "Thanks to everyone here. I'm getting the best care." It was during one of these brighter mornings that Dr. Henry Lawson entered Marcus's room for a routine check, but with a heavier task in mind. He hesitated at the door, gathering his courage before approaching Marcus's bedside. "Marcus, may I have a moment?" he asked, his tone more solemn than usual. "Of course, doctor," Marcus replied, curious about the serious demeanor of his physician. Dr. Lawson took a deep breath, his eyes meeting Marcus's steadily. "I've come to say something very important. When you first arrived at the hospital, I judged you unfairly because of my own past fears. I let those fears affect my professional judgment. I was wrong, and I am deeply sorry for that. My actions were not only unprofessional but unjust. I hope you can forgive me." Marcus listened, his expression thoughtful. After a brief pause, he nodded, his own experiences with prejudice giving him a deep understanding of its weight. "I appreciate your honesty, doctor. It takes courage to admit that. I forgive you. We all deserve a chance to learn from our mistakes and grow." Dr. Lawson's relief was palpable, a burden lifting visibly from his shoulders. "Thank you, Marcus. I promise you, from this day forward, I will never let such prejudices guide my actions again. I am committed to being a better man and a better doctor." The emotional exchange touched everyone in the room. Nurse Grace, who had quietly entered during their conversation, felt a tear slip down her cheek at the powerful scene of reconciliation. Alex, who had just arrived for his visit, stood at the door, witnessing the moment. The room filled with a renewed sense of joy and unity. Lisa reached out to hold Dr. Lawson's hand, thanking him for his openness and sincerity. "This is what healing looks like," she said softly, her eyes bright. Alex added, "It's more than just the body healing. It's hearts and minds too." The atmosphere in the recovery room was light, almost celebratory, as everyone present acknowledged the profound journey of forgiveness and commitment they had witnessed. Marcus's recovery now symbolized more than just a physical healing but a mending of deeper wounds, a testament to the resilience and capacity for forgiveness inherent in the human spirit. Following the emotional reconciliation in the hospital, Dr. Henry Lawson faced the consequences of his earlier actions. The hospital administration, after a thorough review, decided to suspend him from his role for a few months. This decision underscored the seriousness of professional conduct that respects all patients equally, regardless of background. Dr. Lawson accepted the punishment without protest, recognizing the gravity of his mistake. "I understand and accept the decision," he said in the meeting with hospital administrators. "I need this time to reflect and learn from this grave error. It's only fair." Meanwhile, Marcus's condition continued to improve significantly. After several days under careful medical supervision, he showed remarkable signs of recovery. The joy was palpable when the doctors announced that he was ready to be discharged. However, they advised him that he would need to undergo frequent tests to monitor for any complications that might arise from his severe infection. A few months later, Marcus returned to the hospital for a routine follow-up exam. It was his first time back since his discharge, and the visit was filled with a mixture of anxiety and hope. To his surprise, he was greeted by Dr. Lawson, who had just returned to his duties after his period of suspension. "Marcus, it's good to see you looking so well," Dr. Lawson said with a genuine smile, his demeanor humble. Marcus nodded, acknowledging the doctor's sentiment. "Thank you, Dr. Lawson. I owe you a lot for the care you provided, despite everything." Dr. Lawson shook his head slightly, his expression earnest. "Marcus, thank your wife, your friend Alex, and your faith. It was their support and prayers that truly made the difference. I was merely a part of the team that was guided by their hope and your strength." Marcus appreciated Dr. Lawson's humility and the acknowledgement of the role his personal support network played in his recovery. "I believe it was all of us together, including you, document. We all had a part in this journey." The hospital corridor, once a place of tension for Marcus, now felt like a backdrop for a story of redemption and healing. As Marcus left the hospital that day, he felt not only the joy of recovery, but also the peace of forgiveness and the strength that comes from shared trials and triumphs. The recovery room's atmosphere was light, reflective of the journey that each person involved had taken. It was a testament to the power of compassion, understanding, and faith, both in the medical practice and beyond.